Okay, well, let's move on to one of your classifications, which I think is really clear and a great way of explaining the type of services that these platforms provide. So you break it down into three categories:
We
do it
do.
yourself, do it with me, or do it for me. So could you just briefly explain what you mean by that?
Okay,
And what you
so
expect to pay for the three and what you get?
yeah, absolutely. So I think a useful way of classifying platforms is by the level of help you get, and within that, there's lots of different prices and all that kind of stuff. So if we start where you get the least help, and we call that do it yourself, you walk onto a platform or you log on to your platform, and in its purest form, it says, "Hi, what would you like to do today?" And you say, "Well, I would like to buy a bunch. I'd like to put £5,000 into this Vanguard fund." The sake of argument, they say, "No problem, done. That's it. You are now free to go about your day." And that's a really great service if you know what you want. If you don't want people interfering, you don't want people influencing you with marketing or anything like that. Those very pure models, pure DIY platform, are available, and they're generally based out of stockbrokers. And the stockbroker would love you to buy, RJ Finknottle's services and the chalk stripe suit and the watch again. But if you're not going to do that, they're very happy just to accept your instruction. They'll charge you a few quid for doing it, and off you go. So that's your kind of do it yourself. And there's plenty of platforms out there who are simply very good at receiving instructions and then leaving you to get on with it. Moving up the scale one step, we get to do it with me. And here we're looking at platforms that don't give you advice. They don't tell you what to do, but they provide guidance and suggestions. And those pop up in a couple of different ways. It might be suggested ranges of funds that we think you'll find interesting. And the best known of those, again, from Hargreaves is the Wealth 150. You've got to watch these things, because wherever someone makes a suggestion, you want to look behind, if you can, to look for any commercial bias that may exist there. And I'm not saying there is commercial bias, but wherever I see someone saying, "Hey, here's a really good one," my little spidey sense starts tingling, and I look. There are some, inside those deals, though, those lists, you get some great deals, right? There are some passive funds in there, where there's really no space for anything to be going on. And I think it's one of the BlackRock consensus funds, which is a very widely diversified kind of big bucket fund, huge fund, but very good at what it does. The BlackRock Consensus 80 fund, I think, which is 0.08%. That's right. And in the trade, we call that 8 basis points. And you can't do anything for that. You can't buy a stick of gum for that. So that's a fantastic deal, and that's on their list. So I think there's stuff to get into inside that. So it might be a list, or they might have a kind of guidance journey that you can go on, an online journey, which says, "Hi, I'm Mark. I'm 10 years old, and I haven't got a pot to piss in, and I've got no idea what any of this means, but here we go. What should I do?" And they might say, "Well, people like you, Mark, are often interested in this, this, and this." And again, your spidey sense needs to go. Yeah. Those kind of journeys are in there. A lot of the time, what they'll do in those situations is guide you to their own funds. Lots of these platforms are part of larger businesses which manufacture investments, and they would quite like you to buy those, because then they get you to pay for holding the investment, and they make some money out of the investment as well. That's not satanic, right? It's not awful. It depends on the quality of the investment. And so you need to satisfy yourself there. But no advice, but they're with you along the way. A really great company for that is Fidelity. Mm-hmm. You mentioned already, Fidelity has put a lot of money into building these guidance journeys, and it actually comes out pretty well. So we're fans of that one. Then for do it for me, that's where you need somebody to tell you what to do. You just want the problem taken away. I've got this much to invest, or I want to achieve this. Just tell me what to do, please. And not only tell me what to do, but take responsibility for it. And that's advice.